commentator for more on this situation. Doug, I'm wondering what is going through Vladimir Putin's mind right now?
He's playing the clock. They're calling it strategic silence. He is not going to allow the Americans to set the terms and the Americans to dictate the timing of Vladimir Putin. When and if he signs on to the ceasefire, is going to do it on his terms, according to his conditions. And let's be clear about it. His conditions have not changed. Yes, the Americans are saying at this hour that they're expecting Russia to accept it unconditionally. That was what the Secretary of State said. And we've been saying it's become cliched, putting the ball in Russia's court. The fact of the matter is, on Russia, unconditionally, that's where you're going to have a red line here with Putin. He has not changed his narrative. He has not changed his conditions. Putin has not budged on where he stands with respect to any potential ceasefire, if you will, let alone peace plan. He continues to consider Ukraine a country that needs to be denazified, in the Russian propaganda term that has been consistently used throughout this war. It needs to be demilitarized. That means eviscerated of any sense of a standing army that could protect it as a sovereign country. Which brings me to the next point. It cannot essentially be an independent and sovereign country. The Kremlin might not explicitly say it in those terms, but that's exactly what the condition is. Ukraine, if it is going to continue to exist in any way, it has to exist as an emasculated entity, clearly under Russia's thumb, clearly within Russia's sphere of influence, its backyard. And once again, perhaps not explicit, but implicit is that a Ukraine without Volodymyr Zelensky, a man that the Russian regime considers an illegitimate president because Ukraine hasn't held elections in the midst of a war. These are all conditions, all red lines, and I will just add that he's not going to sign on to a ceasefire as long as they are making advances on the battlefield, most notably today in the Kursk region of Russia, where the latest reports are that Russians continue to recapture villages. It's not in their interest right now to play according to Trump's clock.
Is there a sense that the US and Ukraine are backing Putin into a corner on this issue? Because if he chooses to continue fighting, he is de facto the bad guy.
Yeah.
As in fact, he is all along, because he's the man who started the invasion. So let's get that clear. Of course, if he doesn't, how does he sell it to the Russian public that he hasn't captured Ukraine, that he hasn't captured Volodymyr Zelensky, that his invasion launched in 2022 didn't turn out to be the three-day wonder that he said it would be?
You are hitting the nail on the head here, Mark. He is between literally a Trump and a hard place. Excuse the very bad pun. But no, more seriously, yes, he cannot afford to, and he's not in the best position in the world. He knows it. He cannot afford to, and he doesn't want to completely alienate Trump, his new buddy, a man who, he hit the lottery with Donald Trump, basically. All of a sudden, the U.S. completely flip-flopping, about-facing on its foreign policy, realigning in Russia's favor. Who could have hoped for that in Russia? But like you said, at the same time, under a lot of pressure, especially from the ultra-nationalist wing. The state-run media, sort of oversees these propagandistic pro-war military bloggers. They're not all officially state correspondents. They do have divergent views sometimes, but they all generally see this ceasefire deal as a no-go. They say, why the hell should Russia sign anything of the sort? He has to be cognizant of this camp. Could I just show our viewers, actually, a couple of these comments we've heard from this sort of crew here? What I say is they're not all bloggers. Some of them are also correspondents. Do we have? Yeah, the first one here is from a man named Alexander Kotz. Now, I call, that's my word. I use propagandist because that's essentially what he is. He works for Komsomolskaya Pravda, state-run media. Almost everything now in Russia is state-run media, a weekly newspaper. Look what he said. Shove your peace initiatives up your A**. We
understand.
Last year, you were given the conditions for a ceasefire. You responded with an invasion. We got the message. Who is he channeling there? He's talking directly to Ukraine, meaning, and what is he referring to? He's referring to Ukraine's invasion of Kursk in Russia, right, last August. At the time, an invasion that was seen now as a bargaining chip, potentially, for Ukraine when we came to this point in time. Also in the hope that Russian forces would be siphoned away from the front in eastern and southern Ukraine to have to go fight against these Ukrainian troops on Russian soil in Kursk. That didn't really happen the way it was planned, perhaps, because a lot of North Koreans were enlisted by Russia to go fight there. But that shows one sentiment. I want to show you one other, and this is from a real blogger. The Russian Telegram is what is absolutely all the rage in Russia. Everyone follows it. There are a lot of bloggers on there. This is one pro-war Russian blogger on Telegram. It's called one of the Z channels, Z for the war, pro-war. What will a ceasefire give Russia? Nothing. What will 30 days give the Ukrainians? That's the ceasefire duration as proposed. Frontline stabilization, especially near Pokrovsk in the Donetsk region and in the Kursk region. And this is the line that is consistently put forward, Mark, on these pro-war military blogs. Why should we give up now? This would only give those 30 days the Ukrainians time to strengthen their forces and to prepare new attacks. We would be idiots right now. Putin, don't even think of signing that ceasefire. We are winning right now. Let's hold up. So this is not just strategic silence. They see it as militarily the right thing to do right now. He's under a lot of pressure. But like I said, he can't afford to totally alienate Trump. There's the one last option. Who's stopping Putin from signing that ceasefire? And then whenever he wants to, at any given point of time, when and if something does not go to the liking of the Russians, just accusing the Ukrainians of a provocation and of violating the terms of the ceasefire. It's all in the interpretation. He could sign anything he wants.
Indeed, and he does have, obviously, a track record of ignoring things that he has signed. Let's take a listen to the words of Donald Trump, who says there is a U.S. delegation on its way to Moscow to talk to Russia.
There are things you could do that wouldn't be pleasant in a financial sense. I can do things financially that would be very bad for Russia. I don't want to do that because I want to get peace. I want to see peace, and we'll see. But in a financial sense, yeah, we could do things very bad for Russia. It would be devastating for Russia, but I don't want to do that because I want to see peace.
He wants to see peace. He's threatening sanctions against Russia, of course. All along, he's been actually sort of playing to Russia's hand, hasn't he, really?
He's being a bit coy here. Generally, the Russians do, even if there is this caution, distrust still of the Americans, they're not entirely on side. They are lucky with Donald Trump. Look, like I said, he's not letting Donald Trump dictate the terms. What the Russians do want, though, ultimately with the Americans, and this is where Trump does have some leverage, is they want to get their economy back, on a good footing. And that does, the Americans could help a lot with that, with investment, both in oil and gas and technology. Yes, Russia definitely wants that. Putin is cognizant of that. But like I said, it goes back to that first question you asked me. Putin is going to do this on his terms. Putin doesn't let himself be bullied by anyone. He's not cowed by anyone. No matter how much pressure is brought to bear on Putin, at the end of the day, you could say the same about Donald Trump. Putin's about Putin and what his objectives are, and he is going to stick to those through thick and thin. So Donald Trump, he's very good at playing that bully role, but he's up against quite a formidable adversary when it comes to negotiating tactics. Putin right now is working on his own clock.
Douglas, thank you very much indeed. Let's get some reaction then to this.